Welcome, everybody. I just want to invite again everybody to come in and have a good conversation with Dr. Undrai Fizer again. I know you guys have been, uh, for lack of better words, eating him up alive on the last couple of broadcasts we've done together. So thank you, Undrai, again for coming on, because people really love the way you articulate, and it's always a great honor to have you with us. So, um,
Excellent.
yeah, absolutely. I know we've had many conversations through the years. And one of the things I want to go over today is one of the things that back when you first started coming into Portland and really beginning to unfold the kingdom before us, Sean and I, and International Life Center. Gosh, I remember the first time you came to ILC and you came up there and we just kind of went crazy because you could bring such a powerful articulation of how to move with defining what the kingdom is. How do you access that? All that came into play, and I just remember everybody just whooping it up. So basically,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing again. We're whooping it up, not because it's just something that's new, but I know a lot of things that you say go to the spirit, and other people get things
Yeah.
from the spirit, but they don't know how to articulate it. And then when we listen to you, you're just going, "That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's how this all unfolds." So I know that you're one of the few on earth that really have the ability to really articulate the value of the kingdom and the divine mind, purpose, destiny, and all of that. So one of the things I want to jump into here is for our viewers that are starting to gather around the word that you're carrying on the behalf of the kingdom and moving as God's voice on this earth is going back to what I was referring to. One of the first things I heard you were talking about is the spirit of Esau,
Okay.
because what you brought out in that is the whole story with Jacob and Esau and just the whole birthright versus skill set and all of that. So I know that when I heard that, I go, oh my gosh, that's it. That's what we're contending over, because we have all these people coming to church trying to find God because they're coming off the field of something they're skilled in, but they don't know their birthright. So if you could just kind of, you had a writing on it. In fact, I still have that writing. Um, what is that? What would you define as the spirit of Esau? What's the birthright versus a skill set?
Well, spirit of Esau. Thanks for having me. And hello, everyone. I pray that everybody is well. And let's see what we could talk about with this.
Yeah.
Um, it's carrying something profound while not valuing it. I think from the years ago when we talked about it, we were in a heavy prophetic realm those years ago.
Yep.
Everything was prophetic, accurate words and things like that. Now that we are evolving and moving deeper and further into who we really are, the definitions evolve as well. And simply put, it's carrying something valuable, but you're blind to it. And when you're carrying something valuable and blind to it, the unrecognized value will torment you. And it will cause agitation, hunger, yearning, because I'm carrying something powerful, but I have not valued it. I don't see it. I haven't put it in its proper position. So Esau, as you know, was Jacob's twin brother, oldest brother. And he got the blessing from his father. Well, that he was designated for the inheritance. But you saw where he lost it when his survival was on the line. And he says, what good will this birthright do when I'm starving? And so it's carrying a spiritual power and yet starving with it, because you were not trained to live from it, only to obtain it, only to have it for a certain use. But if we're going to have a birthright from the kingdom, we exist. We naturally, spiritually, and emotionally exist from this right. And that's something a lot of us have not been conditioned to do, or we've never saw the value in it to do it on our own, because this is not something that can just be taught to you like math. That's what's so
Yeah.
crazy about learning. There are some things about God that can't be taught, like English or verbs and verb predicate and adjectives. And there are some things you must observe within and take a chance on. Now, outside teachers can help structure the accountability of it, but it's something that you have to determine that you're going to live from. And at that time, he said, this birthright is nothing. I'm starving, because he never lived from it. He never comprehended the significance of that spirit of Esau, carrying something extremely powerful, but you're blind to its value. Totally oblivious to it.
So, you know, when I heard that for the very first time, I just go, see, everybody usually runs to the field of employment, and then they run to the church to try to figure out, now the employment's not working. Can I exercise my birthright? How do you do that? That's why it was so prolifically powerful back then, and even to this day. I think frustration is born out of when you're carrying something that significant and you're blind to it, like you're saying, and it causes a frustration, even though they love the Lord, they pray, they prophesy, they heal, they do all that. But the reality is when you're not being fed from the birthright, that means you have to go into another field to try to satisfy what you have been designed only you can get from God. And so the reality of that is, you know, I think you put it this way: anytime that you're, if I can say, if you're gleaning from two fields, it proves that you're not whole. You have to,
most definitely.
Yeah, you have to go from, you know, this value of, I get the job thing, but you have to run from the value of the field of the kingdom and be totally into that. I think that's what the rich young ruler was trying to, you know, I can't sell off what my kingdom is here to jump into this one.
And see, that's the contradiction in us. You can't be taught to do it. It's like, I've been talking about this the past few weeks, about the presence of God being the main thing. And to so many, you remember the scripture in 1 Samuel chapter 5. The scripture said the Philistines, which were the enemies of the children of Israel, the main enemy, they stole the ark from the battlefield.
Yeah, they did.
They stole it, which was the presence of God for the children of Israel. Whenever the children of Israel would go out to battle, they would bring this ark with them. In other words, this was God to them.
Yeah.
Even though it had the tablets in it, the Aaron's rod, the bud, this was God to them. The angels touched him. This was God to them. And they would wipe out everything when they had this. But somehow something happened. It didn't work. Philistines took the ark and brought it to their house, to the temple of Dagon. And the scripture said they sat that presence, because if we could take the strategies of the sons of God away from them and put it in our place, oh my God. So they sat, you know the story, they sat the ark next to Dagon. Scripture said they went on to sleep. We're going to go back and see how this looks in the morning. They went back and Dagon is laying face down in front of it. But what did they do? They picked him up and put him back. And so the next day they went back. This time the God is down again, but this time his head is cut off and his hands and only the torso. Well, most of us, if we could look at that as the Bible story and we could say, see, God is powerful. You sit him next to any God is going, you could say that. But you have, the scriptures is sometimes an allegory. When we put the truth or the kingdom or the presence in our life, and there are other things there. See, most people get saved and the truth comes, but they want that truth to coexist with other survival thoughts and idols and prerequisites. Because most people are happy when there is a a tolerable coexistence between the kingdom and other things, emotions, people, habits, sincerity, whatever. And whenever wisdom stands or sits in your life, it's going to topple all of those other prerequisites. But instead of leaving them down, we pick them back up.
Yeah.
Because those things are important to us.
So
we
true.
Pick them back up and set them down. And until those things fall and the head is cut off. If the head isn't cut off, we're going to still think that way. If the hands aren't cut off, we're still going to apply that. So most people don't understand the birthright identity because within us is still a survival code. How do I live? Cultural code. The kingdom has yet to eradicate the personal cultural code or spiritual code. The kingdom is just another hyper-Christian revelation. Yeah. Magic. Yeah. And but one thing I found there, when the kingdom is present, it's going to expose your other goodness, your other gods. Before it empowers you, it exposes you.
Woo! You said some stuff there. Before it empowers you, it exposes you.
It exposes you.
Yeah.
Before it empowers you, it exposes you.
Yep.
It would expose how your root systems and how you've been existing. Jesus exposed the rich young ruler. He wasn't trying to make him poor. He exposed his considerations because Jesus was a person who would not choose you if you had other considerations. Mm-hmm. If his thought wasn't the main thing, you couldn't go with him. Follow me. I got to go back and I got to go back and tell I got to go back and I got to go back. He never waited for you. Mm-hmm. Jesus, see, that's the thing that a lot of people can't handle about Christ. He doesn't wait. He does not wait for anybody. Mm-hmm. He's a now spirit. And whenever you put the now spirit next to your gods, to your goods, or to whatever, it's going to knock them down. It exposes you before it empowers you.
Whew, there's some stuff there, my friend, because here's what you and I are, we're, if I can say it this, we're in the same atmosphere. The last couple of weeks have been talk about the presence and the glory, right? And the presence means that word there is the word panim, which is the face of God. So when the face of God stood in front of another idol, the face that it's not real will bow itself to the real face. It's going to bend its knee, if I can say it that way. Even though it's dead in the equivalency of what it naturally can do, but in the spirit realm, it's still going to fall to the face of God, because when you're not right with the face of God, then you will hide your face from God.
That's right.
And so there's that whole process right there. I mean, you begin to understand that when Jesus went to the cross, he actually had his face beaten so you couldn't even see it. You couldn't even tell it was Jesus.
That's right.
So what that tells me in the exchange is he wants you to have a perfect face, because he's taken everything that could change your face and give yourself an excuse not to come see his face. No, you have no excuse.
No excuse at all.
And he exposed, I think that he exposes you before he empowers you.
He empowers you,
Jesus was exposed at every level at the crucifixion. Every level.
Most definitely.
And then after that became what? The empowerment, the power of resurrection.
Oh yeah, endured the cross, despised the shame.
Yeah,
for a joy set before him. That's right. And so our motivation for salvation determines the activation of that salvation. Our motivation for salvation, either we are getting saved out of being bad, or we are divinely remembering who we were from the glorious beginning. Salvation will either enlighten you to who you were before the foundation of the world, or it will give you a temporary cleaning.
Yeah.
And most people want a temporary bath.
Yeah.
But to really be enlightened means to discover who you were before the foundation. And you begin to find out that I am a Christ fashioned after my brother.
Yeah.
And that's the birthright. The birthright isn't heaven after I die. The birthright is the glorious beginning, the blessing, the keys of possibility that was given to you before the foundation of the world. You being kin to God, the bloodline of God, and knowing how to use that, knowing how to walk in that, knowing how to, first of all, having your self-esteem enlightened because of this. How many of you, since you have known the Lord, have experienced a shift in your self-esteem? Not just in sin, but in how you perceive yourself. When you look in the mirror, do you feel you're looking at God? What has it done to your self-esteem, your self-worth, how you see you through you? Not how God sees me and just claiming that God sees me a different way, but how do you see yourself as the Lord? And he says, this birthright isn't helping me. I'm starving. It was so cheap to him, he gave it away for a bowl of beans. He said, you can have it for something temporary. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm going back to, because you said that temporary bath, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going, see, that goes back to your whole analogy when you taught back in the day, people put on the gown of salvation.
Yeah.
But they failed to remove the clothes that they approach salvation with. And so the salvation goes over them as an outer garment. And give us, I'm going to allow you to unfold this, but I'm just saying you taught us that the atmosphere only recognizes the clothing that's closest to your skin. And so if you had it's duplicity. No, I'm really only a sinner and I'm only free until I die. Then you put on the gown of salvation over that. Now you're in two worlds. You're trying to justify this thing that you just called a birthright, but you're still pulling the rights to sin and try to beat it so you can get into this salvation birthright to be free. And it's just this contention all the time. You're just going, you have to drop some clothing somewhere. You've got two kingdoms there.
You have to remove those gods, those things. You see, one thing about idols or gods or consciousness, certain realms in our consciousness, they will let the religious person work around them.
Yeah, that's so true.
Religion will let you discuss the map while keeping you lost. We'll talk about the way. This is how you get out. This is what you do, while still going in circles.
Exactly. That's so well defined. So true.
That's the torment of religiosity. It'll let you work around them. And at times, these idols will bless you so you can keep them. See, when the presence of God or the face of God is not the only face in you, you're going to suffer from double-mindedness, because I don't know if this is me, God, or my friend, or you see what I'm saying?
Oh,
so the
totally.
thing is our love for the kingdom will show us how to clear out the extras in us so we can hear clearly, because the atmosphere only knows God. The atmosphere doesn't know slaves. The atmosphere is the frequency that God created when he created the universe. In other words, the atmosphere has the same wavelengths of thought, the brain, the feelings, and everything. The atmosphere can hear. How do you know? When Jesus spoke to the rain, when he spoke to the wind, they heard him. And when they heard him, they had to understand the consequences for disobeying him. So if the atmosphere can hear, the atmosphere can think. It means it could logically put things together and say, oh, he's telling me this. So if I do this, then this will happen. The atmosphere knows the value of Jesus. The atmosphere knows the mastery of Jesus. The atmosphere knows if we say no to him, what can happen? What do you mean, Fizer? Jesus spoke to a fig tree. Fig tree got depressed. He said, no one's going to eat from you anymore. The fig tree heard it, got depressed, and died. I'm hopeless, because you wanted to eat, and it wasn't the season for figs. But while you wanted to eat, I should have produced them figs for you. Oh, but I'm going to live in pride. it's not my season to produce. But Jesus wants to eat from me. When a Christ wants to eat from an out of season thing, that out of season thing must produce for that king.
Absolutely.
Which means the tree was going to become the miracle of Jesus, because it wasn't season. It wasn't the time for figs. But now that the Son of God is here, my Creator's here, come on. But no, the tree said, oh, no, go somewhere else, go to another tree. Jesus said, no one's going to eat from you again. That's how you want to play this? No one's going to eat from you again. Well, we carried that same reality.
Right.
But Jesus always lived the lifestyle. Jesus didn't let trouble force him into a lifestyle. Jesus constantly lived his legacy. He didn't see, when we get in trouble, we go to faith, or we go to something, or let me fast, or when we living our lives. See, when we still have other gods in us, we'll live for those gods until those gods don't serve us. Then all of a sudden we need to take time out for God, 20 days or 40 days, and give that space to God. And if I set aside 40 days to give to God, then God's going to give me favor, because I'm taking time out of my life to give to God. But Jesus never took time out of his life to give to God. He lived his God in time. He lived all of his God in his time. And so that's the power of it, you see.
So I was going to say, looking up a scripture right here. Give me 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah. 1, 2.
1, 2. You come on, get on the bandwagon here. So
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 2 Timothy 4, it talks about preach the word, be prepared in season and out of season. See, you just brought a reality there that it says, don't go by the season, just be ready whether you're in or out, because at any moment, bam, here comes God, and he's going to
live one world.
Yeah, live one world.
Live from one mind. Live from the one.
Yeah.
Religiosity lets us live in a coexistence with many things, and we call it love.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah.
So true. And so it also comes back to some of the things you have said in the past was, see, when you don't live within the value of you, you'll live within the status quo around you. And in the name of love, you'll stay in the status quo rather than being in love with the uniqueness of who you are, which may make you stand out different from the status quo.
Yeah.
And so, I think you say it this way, you become like a silent slave to the opportunities of others, because you said, hey, I'm in the status quo, but you have no way to distribute the wares of you. But you become the slave to looking around. Okay, where's the next field I can jump into to get my next meal, versus the field of who you are in God, and pulling the fruit off of what God's put in you, or if I can say it the other way around, you're in a field of who you are, and the fruit of that comes off of you, they can feed off of you. But
that's right.
There's just so much here. There's just so much here. Going back to the season, in season, out of season, and I think a lot of people always want to eat off of the season of another person while they've never discovered the season of themselves.
It's easy to do that. It's easy to feed from someone else. This is a unique move, but I found this out, and I wrote this the other day. I can't free anybody else because of my bad experience. I can't use my experience or where I lacked understanding in a certain thing. And I can't free other people until they recognize that life is finished with them. In other words, let me put it this way. If I'm still using my current life, I won't leave it for the original or the new, because this current life is still being used by me. I ventured off into this understanding because I was finished with my particular life. I was finished with that particular mind. I was done with that. Nobody sat me down and said, Undrai, let me tell you about the spirit of Esau. Let me tell you about the kingdom. Let me tell you about it. I lived myself out of my former dispensations. I lived them and used them up. I lived through them. I maximized everything that old life could give me until it could give me no more. Mm. Most people are busy trying to hear of this kingdom possibility. But Barry, most people are not done living in their circles. Mm-hmm. So just like culture does, what's the good thing out there? Let me put a down payment on it and buy some of it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are hear what you and I are saying. They'll purchase a little bit of it like stock. Yeah. If I can't spend this $36,000 on this particular stock, let me put $3,000 in this stock. Let me get some kind of dividend out of it. I can't buy the whole thing. Let me buy into it. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, totally see what you're saying.
And in order to really comprehend this life, you got to buy the whole stock.
Got to buy the whole field.
You just can't be knitting fields together. You can't, you follow?
Totally follow you.
So that's why folks, it's comfortable, it's more convenient to just be commonly saved.
There's a word, commonly saved. Them common,
yeah, I mean,
those common saved folk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but if you are satisfied with being commonly saved, why are you venturing out in this field trying to understand this? Why is this field letting you sneak over here to hear this? What is it that you're not getting from your field? Because if you're satisfied, you follow me, man. If you're satisfied with your field, I'm like, stay in your field. Just stay in your field.
Yeah.
Because I can't awaken or teach anybody who's still comfortable in their former fields. I had to accept that. I had to accept, you know what? I can't do nothing. Yeah. Because they're satisfied.
Yeah.
But if you're not satisfied, you got to understand what we're talking about and you got to move forward to it.
Yeah. And that's, if I can just put this on it, so many times, as you know, and I know, the kingdom comes in such a prolific way. They'll jump out of their field, come into yours, but they still maintain the integrity of the status quo of the culture they came from.
Yes, yes.
And they go back to that field saying, I've experienced the kingdom, it's no big deal. Let's continue as we are, because you didn't want to have the unique factor, because I'll say it this way, because you say it this way, or I'm just going to put it together. When you find the cause of who you are, you no longer live one day at a time. You live as if you're not being manipulated by a season, the opinions of others. There's nothing there, because you're constantly knowing that there's an ever expansion of God inside of you expanding, and you're not looking into the field. You've actually found heaven's ground. You don't need anything but the ground of the kingdom and the field of who God is and the purpose and the destiny of who you are. The minute you jump in, and like you're saying, it's so well said, they jump into the kingdom, they try to arrest the concepts, they never purchase the field, and they go back to the field that they've already been around, but it's all crop circles.
Yeah.
It's crop circles. You got aliens. You'll even say there's no aliens came in, it's the devil's trying. No, it's just you in the field going around and around and around.
Yeah, that's it. I wrote this morning. I wrote this 17 hours ago.
Okay.
Choosing, I put it in quotes, choosing between divine life and other things are only hurtful and confusing when the kingdom has yet to be discovered. When you haven't discovered the kingdom, you're left in the pain of choosing between sin and this and that. But listen, when the kingdom is realized, see, the kingdom is in you, but it must be realized. Mm-hmm. When the kingdom is realized, the exchange is joyful and authentic. Yeah. There is no sadness nor regret. There is only room for one. See, our pain of choosing and living one day at a time means we haven't found the kingdom yet.
That's right.
So the pain of choosing between this and that, do I pick this or that, means you haven't realized the kingdom. The scripture says when that man found the kingdom, he sold everything. bought the field and when he found what his soul looked for, there was no choice. He didn't have, it freed him from this and that. It freed him from, what do I do this or do I do that? I'm asking you, what do I do? It freed him from the torment of questioning. It freed him from the torment of doubt and double-mindedness. It freed him from being caught between. It freed him. He found the one thing that made everything valuable. One thing, one presence. He got rid of all the extras. He got rid of all the extras and found one thing that meant everything. And a lot of us, when we try to look at God like that, we'll say, I want him to be. You ever heard somebody say, well, I want the Lord to be.
Yeah.
I want the Lord. I want it to be. I want it to happen, but I want it to happen without anything in me falling down and dying. I want it without me having to evict my consciousness of the extra. I want God to just do it for me.
Yeah.
And the kingdom frees us from that type of spirituality.
Yes. There's so much there because
there's so much, man.
There's so much there, Dr. Fizer.
There's so much.
We need to get the old mask on, the old guy, and sit on the front row and go at it.
They're not ready. We're gonna lose our audience there. They're not ready.
They're not. We'll just leave that one in the pocket right now. We'll leave that over there.
They're gonna put us up on charges.
Exactly.
They're gonna put us up on charges.
Our faces will be in the post office. Look, watch for these.
Right.
Federal offense. Yeah, they're going to federal prison. Hilarious.
Yeah.
So another. So I'm back. I got to pull off the post office wall. Get off the. Come back.
Come back.
Because if you hear those that have an ear to hear, okay, stop right there, because what you're saying is it's whatever owns your ear is what owns you.
Yeah.
And so you're what happens is when you purchase the kingdom, every other voice becomes silent because you're only tuned to hear from that one place. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And then because see, if you're still sold 95% over here in the kingdom, but you got 5% still in status quo, you're split. And you know what happens? The stock that you bought in the kingdom, because then you start getting the soul involved and it begins to.
That's it. That's it. We talked that too. So I'm listen, I know I'm cutting in. That's what I said. You only have one job. And from that one job, you're trying to support 25 different presences in your consciousness. And that's what's wrong with your money. It's not that you don't have enough. You're trying to support obsolete thought processes that's renting space in your space.
Yes.
And when you rid yourself of the extra, you see the increase of the Lord.
Yeah.
Some of us want greater jobs to support the other opposing thoughts.
Yeah.
And we want God to give it to us. And it's like, no, you're right. That's why I was breaking in, dude. You're stepping right in it. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I remember, when you go on when somebody comes in an architectural firm and they look at a piece of land and they put up a big sign and saying, this is what's going to happen in the future. They're going, this is going to be built up. Just when you said that, I saw like people would go, I want in. I'm not all in, but I want a piece of that.
Oh yeah.
So all of a sudden, but then they're paying over in this field over here, and then they want this field here. And after a while, they'll get to the point where this one places a demand of more of the investment, and you're going, and then all of a sudden, you're going to end up being bankrupt trying to fulfill all these other things that are not a part of your field when you should have put it all into this one to begin with. And, we get so lost in, you can't have all your eggs in one basket. And I'm going, well, in the kingdom, that's not true.
That's what it is.
You have to go and you have to put 100% in. And that's what I think a lot of people, and it comes in the form of people, unfortunately, because they don't want to say, well, this is my family. This is my mom, dad, my uncle, this pastor I've known for 25 years. Then what the heck, like you said, what are you doing in this field if you think that you've got it all over here? Let me just save you bankruptcy. Stay over there.
Stay over there. That's what I tell folks. Let's stay over there.
because
Let's go over there.
it stirs up over here, and then because they don't invest in the value of what the kingdom is, they think you're of the devil, just like they told you're of you're of Beelzebub. You're
Oh
trying
yeah.
to mess with the system of the government, and you're trying to screw us up with this
Oh yeah.
kingdom. Who are you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Most definitely. And that's what happens. I've had a lot of people to move from out of town. Said God told me to come here for you to teach me. God, and I would ask, okay, what are you trying to know? Tell me what it is that you're trying to know. So they'll be with you for a few months, and then all of a sudden they create a way out. They done sat with you for a few months, but what happens? They get into your headspace.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to watch as kingdom teachers, because the legitimacy of our peace and our headspace is our power. And wrong people connecting to our space is our kryptonite. Wrong people connecting to our space, to our emotional space, to reap the fruit. Because so many people have sat at my table. And I consider everyone who eats at my table my sons. And some people are come and get a morsel and get me emotionally connected to their journey to success or effectiveness.
Mm-hmm.
To the point they can distract your energy of oneness. Jesus had to make sure that all of his disciples believed in what he was about, because so many times he called them Satan. He's saying, you're letting Satan disturb you now. That's not the plan now. That's not the plan now. Mm-hmm. He had 70 disciples at once. He had 70 students at once. And he's pouring into them. And all of a sudden they said, well, show us something so we can believe you. I'm like, wait a minute. You've been walking with me this long. You say, show you something? Mm. And then the ultimate test, eat my flesh, drink my blood. In other words, become totally as I am. Mm-hmm. They said, no, this dude here has gone crazy. Yeah. And he lost 58 people in one day. Yeah. 58 of them left. So I have found when people are living in two fields, playing let me put it this way. Most people don't have the faith to achieve the promise themselves. So they'll come to you in the form of a servant and help you get to it and get there through you.
Because a servant cannot have a legacy, but a son can. So they want to ride on the legacy of you outside of sonship. So they celebrate the sonship of what you're carrying, but not with taking the responsibility to become what the Father intended you to become. Because servants never leave a legacies, sons always do.
So I'll help you. So while I'm helping you, I can ride with you to the promise through you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then
so that's the things we have to watch. Go ahead.
That's so powerful, because Jonah, perfect example. And it may have been you that brought this out, but it's always stuck with me. If you're not willing to kick off the people that are causing the storm on your ship, then enjoy the storm. And that's exactly what you're saying about the emotional space. They want to get in there. It creates a bunch of chaos. And you know, you're at 3 a.m. still talking to them, trying to convince what you are in the truth of what you're saying. And they're going, I don't know, emotionally, and I just you know, what over in this field it was like this, and I don't know how I can bring that here. And you're going, that's not what it's about.
That's right.
And you're right, because then it creates a storm on the ship that you are designated to take to a certain place. And now the storm's on your ship. And unless you're willing to kick them off the ship, there's no way that storm's going to cease.
That's right. That's right.
So that's a huge, we're going to have ourselves a leadership conference, Dr. Fizer.
We're in an information zone where people are trying to steal the principles.
Exactly.
They're trying to get the formula. So they'll listen at this, write the notes down, and okay, that's okay. But that's not the formula.
Right.
Let me help you. Yeah. Let me get on your platform and go with you.
Yeah.
I don't have the faith to go myself.
Yeah, exactly. And and it's, and I think you said there, as they said to the disciples, well, you know, you're here because you want me to do another sign and wonder, like you said. They were
Yeah.
there for, if I can say it this way, not to belittle, they're there for the magic show. They go, man, that's really
Yeah.
good. You are
Yeah.
really cool with that. Show us that again, you know? And you're just
Yeah.
going, no, no.
Yeah.
The quest is not for me showing you the tricks and magic as you think is sleight of hand or
Yeah.
whatever. It's about you becoming the value of what I am. And the minute you want to have tricks in your hands and sideshows and all that, and you want to keep the value of where you came from, and you want the benefits from Jesus, you're gone. It's over. You're done.
It's Yeah, and that's the spirit of Esau. When my birthright is not feeding me, I'll look for something else. It's not supposed to preach to me. It's supposed to feed me.
Yeah.
Jesus said, I have meat that you know not of.
Yeah.
Is your birthright feeding you, not reading to you, not praying to you, feeding you, which is fulfilling you?
Yeah.
Esau wasn't fulfilled by it. He gave it away a long time ago. He had it and gave it away a long time. He gave it away before Jacob took it from him.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah.
Sure did. And when, I'm thinking that through again, just on the whole premise of the gown that, the salvation comes. But see, Jacob even put on he put on what, goat hair on to fool his father. He goes, you feel like your brother, but the voice of you is of Jacob.
You
And
say
see,
you sound like that. Yeah.
yeah. And you're going, yeah. And I think a lot of people, if I could say this is kind of a hard thing to say, but a lot of people want to wear the skin of you, but they cannot carry the voice of you.
Oh yeah.
They wanna have the ability to move and be fluid like you are in the spirit and all that.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I see
the
that. Yeah.
atmosphere doesn't recognize you because
Yeah.
you're wearing the skin of another. That's the same thing that Saul did to David, trying to put
Yeah.
another thing on. Here, move with this, because if you're really good, you at least have my clothes on. I'm going, no, that's not what that's about.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a powerful thing to understand when somebody's trying to skin you alive,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
but they will
I've
not
had
receive
that.
the voice of God.
Oh yeah, I've had it. People want to get so close. I want to know. I just want to know about you. Yeah, yeah. They want to know. They want to get the smell, but not the sound.
They got the smell of the field, but the sound of the
Yeah.
voice that's required to produce from the
Yeah.
birthright's field, you don't have it. And
I
if
smell like I got an experience, but I don't.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, oh my gosh, there's so
I
much
smell
there.
like I've been here a long time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been
I
around fire. You smell the smoke, but you never
yeah.
became the fire of God.
Never became it.
But
Most people fear that. They still fear that. But if I could get close enough to you to see how it's done, maybe I can manipulate it. Maybe it doesn't require all of that, what you've done.
right.
So let me see what you've done and see if I could reproduce it cheaply.
Yeah.
That's what offends me the most with anybody. You're going to try to do this for cheap. You're going to take what I'm saying and try to reduce it to something. That's the thing that used to get me all the time, because I'm like, oh my God, I remember every step. And it's not a matter of every prayer. I remember every step, every misstep, every misunderstanding, every discovery, every pain, every rejection, everyone that cheated me out of it.
Yeah.
Everyone that had the resources to do with it that I didn't. Oh, I know it. I've seen books come out. I've seen it. I'm like, wow, those are my words. That's me. You understand? And it used to hurt me. It used to hurt me. But now I'm good. I'm like, well, Lord, thank you. At least it's out.
It's out now.
It's out. It's out. But the atmosphere knows my sound.
And I think one of the things that's kind of troubling, and you would understand this well, the relationship, when somebody's not to purchase the field of what you're trying to get them to understand, the field that they have, they hide behind, but the kingdom's all relationship. But their account to purchase the value of what God's giving them is bankrupt because they have it in another field, and then they hide behind. But God says we have to have a relationship because that's what the kingdom is. And what I've learned from that, because I've had that 100 times, it's all about relationship. It's all about relationship, not one investment, nada.
No, not at all.
Nada. And
They
so,
really want to take. Go ahead. Go ahead.
and so
Go ahead.
you go, I remember the first time that happened to me, I'm going, that's a really good point, and there's a question mark that kind of comes across your identity and say, yeah, you need to take care of them. I'm thinking, after a while you go, something's not right here,
That's right.
because I bought the field, I got the treasure. What you're saying is, I want the goods of your treasure because I can go through relationship and get that without me purchasing anything for the value of what I'm supposed to buy my
Yes.
own treasure in my own
Yes.
field.
That's what happened to the rich young ruler. He said, forget it. I won't buy it.
Oh, my word.
He went to Jesus. He went to Jesus looking for. Jesus never went to say, you want me to give you this kingdom?
Yeah.
So when he told him, this is what you do. He said, can't.
Yeah.
I'll keep what I've been having since I was a kid.
And I would like to see, now I'd have to say to Jesus, okay, so now that he hasn't done that, do you still have to have a relationship with him? And you realize that what he was saying was, unless you purchase the value of what I am, there's no way to have a relationship.
Not the type that will empower you.
Correct.
Not the type of relationship that will have you as a son. Not the type of accountability which will bring governance, creativity, and authority to your life. Because he's not into a casual relationship.
Yeah.
The divine is not into casual relationships. Religion is into relationships with the tree of knowledge and good
Well
and
said.
evil. But
Well said.
religion cannot be in a relationship with the tree of life.
Well said.
And so, so if you're in a relationship, you're in your own convenient trickery with spirituality. And when you're in that type of relationship, you're going to be a believer avoiding Christ. I'm finding more believers avoiding Christ.
Yeah.
Because they're not living as a Christ. They're living a flexible life which coexists with different thoughts, and Jesus being one of them.
Just one of them. There's the key.
Yeah, that's one of them.
So like, if I go back and we'll just pull that all the way back together again.
Yeah.
The kingdom always comes to expose you first before it empowers
you. That's right.
So the rich rant young ruler, he's going, Jesus, he pulled that card out. I'm going to expose you. Let's see what's going on here before I empower you. Let's see where you're going to buy into.
Yes.
And everybody usually puts what can I get from this before I invest into it? And he's totally flipping the script. No.
Yeah.
How about if you invest into it and get the value of the power of it?
Well, he said, if you put your hands to the plow and look back, you wasn't worthy for the kingdom. He didn't say you wasn't worthy for him dying. See, people need to understand his sacrifice of life is not the kingdom. You're qualified for him to die for you, but you qualify yourself for governance. The kingdom and salvation are two different things.
Yeah.
The grace to be saved, dying for the ungodly, dying for sinners. And the kingdom, that's a different situation.
Yeah.
One keeps you in a foster home. The other one puts you in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't, when you go through the door of salvation, there are millions of people that stopped right there. They didn't take the next step into the value of the kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it requires everything, all or nothing. We hate all or nothing.
Yeah.
We hate that. It's something about it we just don't like. And he said, follow me. I got to go over here. Follow me. I got land up. Follow me. It was like, It's something about being the only way that gets us. How can I'm the way, I'm the truth, and I'm the life. Can no man come to this but by me? Oh, it can't be that way.
Can't be that tight.
Yeah, but it is. Not for him to die, but for you to see. But we want a convenient spirituality.
Yeah, that if I can say it this way, the power of what he believed in us, he committed the fullness of himself to sacrifice into us. Now he comes back around the other way.
Do the same.
Do the same. I
Yes.
laid my life down because salvation is the introduction of your, salvation is free, but the benefits, it's going to cost you everything.
Yeah. I believe in you enough to give everything I am for you.
Yeah.
Do the same.
Yeah.
I showed you where I am.
Yeah.
Do the same.
Do the same.
That's it.
Yeah. And if you don't, yeah, I mean, when you really process that through, one of the Trinity, God himself, could only raise you to the value of what you were in the garden.
That's it.
So it had to be one of them. But that tells you how powerful you are in the fullness when you buy the field.
It has to be an equal trade. It has to be an equal exchange.
Exactly. You can't treat. Yeah,
Jesus. You can't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go.
In other words, Jesus died for the worth of himself. You were worth that much. It had to be an even exchange.
Exactly.
Yeah. Lets you know how incredibly designed we are.
Yeah.
It takes a God to die for a God.
Absolutely. Everybody wants to exchange the gold value of God for the rice bowl that we think we're worth. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Wow. God died for the value of God. That's right.
And like you said before, what it does is you reconcile yourself back as a slave rather than reconciling you back to the reality of a king. You're saved enough to say, I'm a slave to, I got to be a slave to this moral code and this Christendom, and I got to, I'm reconciled to that. But actually take you to the value of how God thought, how the Word thought before he descended. Boy, that's a jump for a lot of people. They just don't, they can't, I don't know about that. You're in a cult.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way out of everything. That's in a cult. You're a cult.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're especially Fizer.
Yeah.
That's especially Fizer.
Because he has a boat.
Yeah.
He can't even walk on the water. He's got to drive a boat on it. So if he was really God, he could walk on it.
Yeah,
Barry doesn't even have a boat. So he's not even on the picture, but at least Fizer's on the picture. Barry doesn't have a boat. Barry has a car. Fizer knows how to surf the spirit. Barry, he just drives and it just goes underwater. He doesn't get very far.
But he has a drone.
He does have a drone. He does have a drone.
We'll leave it right there.
We'll just leave it there. The boat, they just
we'll just leave it right there.
Just leave it right there.
Yeah, man. That was a valuable thing that you brought out, though. God did the exchange for himself. He couldn't use anybody else.
Couldn't.
So he had to trade the value for equal value.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's how he thought of us. He could only think of us that way because that's how we were produced out of him. The issue is we don't think of us that way.
That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We feel it's legal to think below ourselves.
In humility, even. William.
Yes.
There's humility.
Yes. I'm like,
man.
God died for God.
He did. Mm-hmm. From him, through him, to him. Yep.
That's right.
He sees him as himself. So it's from him, through him, to him.
Yeah.
It's not
from
him and it stops because there's nothing there. No, it's like I always said, God, like you said, God comes to himself. God comes to himself. Yeah. God comes to himself. He came to himself in the garden. That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
Exactly what he was doing. Oh my God.
That's why I asked, when you're enlightened in your salvation, what did it do to your self-esteem? What did it do? It's supposed to reveal to you who you are and not just what you're saved from.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. I remember being saved from something. But when I woke up to something is when life shifted for me.
Bingo, there it is. From something to something.
It changed and I can't go back. I'm on dialysis right now. That's what kept me alive. Mm-hmm. It's not a matter of the prayer of the saints. Mm-hmm. When I remembered who I was, because I remember being in the hospital for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I remember hearing the doctor said you could be dead in a year, Mr. Fizer, or you could live for 30. My wife was sitting in there. I remember the day, it was a Thursday, I was in there and I was dying. I didn't know what was happening, but I just kept staring at my wife because I knew I'm fixing to die shortly. This is what it's like to die, to be put in a situation where you feel I'm about to transition. The the thing in my heart that I was waiting for it, like, this is it. And I was looking at my wife. I was just staring at her. And I was telling the doctors and the nurses, make it stop. My heart was just rapidly going. Mm-hmm. They later got a needle and injected something in me later. A few days later, they told me what was happening. They said, we gave you a solution and we thought you were going to pee it out. I'm gonna say it. I said it. But you were drowning. Your kidneys had died. They failed. And your lungs were filling up. You were drowning. So they had to do something to stop it, knock me out. I said, wow, because I knew I knew. And I was supposed to get on a plane that next day for New York to teach over the weekend. I said, I'm supposed to go to New York. They said, you're not going anywhere for a while, sir. A few days later, the doctor told me, Mr. Fizer, this is a very serious situation. How you look at it will determine how you live. You could be dead in a year. My father died of it. I knew. And I was hit a bit. Mm-hmm. But my birthright kicked in. And God had to let me feel the other report for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, I was scared to sleep at night, Barry. I'm just telling people, if you think, Fizer's just flying in the air. Yeah, I fly. But I was in the bed for 2 weeks, afraid of the dark, because God allowed me to hear the opposing report every night. Mm-hmm. And I heard the voices saying, you could die tonight, sir. So I didn't hear nothing curse me out. The report just told me the truth. The report just told me the truth. God let the truth talk to me, which means his truth and truth are two different things. Mm-hmm. He allowed the facts and what was real to talk to me. He let it spill out his guts to me. Every night, my wife is sleeping in there, and I can't sleep. I'm laying in that hospital bed, shaking my head. I couldn't go to sleep until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Then I could go to sleep. Mm-hmm. He let me get crucified by the truth until I came into the new resurrected realization. And I'm telling people, this isn't just some revelation. I'm living it out right now. I have the scars to prove it. I have the scars in my arm to prove it. I have the hole in my chest from a catheter that was there. I have it to prove it. I have the scars in my body to prove that I had to be retransitioned in my truth. Just like you had to let that touch you, it had to touch me. And when you could allow that to touch you and you defeat it, God has given you all the keys you need.
Yeah, that is so true.
I just had to say it.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Thank you for sharing that. If I can put it in this analogy, and we'll just kind of put a bow on this whole thing, isn't it funny that when you buy the birthright of the kingdom, I always put it, because of the years I used to fly and as a pilot, it gives you permission to fly. But you have to, in order to apprehend the law of aerodynamics, you have to go down to the runway of the law of gravity, which is, it opposes the reality of what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be flying, but the ground still has you. And it's the contradiction of those two laws, the law of the sin and death and the law of life. And when you have a runway that's saying you're not going to make it and you're built to fly, you have to go down the runway in order to get the lift. It does not go straight up like a helicopter. There's a conflict between the wheels on that airplane that are riding down the runway of death, that you're still screaming, this thing's going to scream lift any second. And death tells you the whole way, it's not going to happen. And you're going, I have a birthright. I have the right to be lifted off of here.
I have the right to be. That's right.
And you have to keep the throttle wide open going down that runway. Otherwise, you're not going to lift off. And what you just said is the same thing I went through. Why am I screaming down this runway of death when I'm supposed to be in the air. And God wants to know if you bought 100% on the value of the lift of the spirit, or are you still in another field called death and say, I guess this is it, it's over. Because
Oh
it's
yeah.
like what God said, from dust you came and dust is you're going to return to. And that's what's going to happen if you give up the throttle halfway down the runway and say, I guess this is God's will. No, you hang
Mm-mm.
on to it, and all of a sudden there's a break. It doesn't go up really fast. The wheels lift off slowly, and all of a sudden
Mm-mm.
you get airborne, and
That's right.
then you get to places where you could never get on that
Yeah.
short little runway. But everybody goes down the runway of opposition before
Oh
you get
yeah.
the runway of the benefits of the kingdom.
That's right. He had to let me know. I had to expose if I was going to trade it in for a bowl of beans.
Yeah,
And I said,
exactly.
He told me you could die in the year, Mr. Fizer. I
Yeah,
said, mm-mm,
yeah.
mm-mm, mm-mm. And so it'll be 3 years in September.
Wow,
And in 1 month, I wrote 4 books in 1 month.
wow.
And now I'm at the best place I've ever known in my life.
It's powerful, man.
Yeah.
And a boat to boot.
Of course. Of course. Of course.
Of course.
Of course. Yes.
Wow, those are extremely powerful insights. Um, it's a real world. What you described was a reality. This is not just like, oh,
Yeah.
we read the Bible and we can quote it, and
That's why I'm saying it. That's why
it's
I'm saying it.
wonderful.
It's the real world.
It's
Yeah.
the
Some people
real
think we
world.
just, they think it's just loose revelation with benefits. It's like, no, we survive from this.
Yeah,
We just don't preach this.
yeah,
We don't need a church to say it.
yeah,
We live from this. This
yeah.
is how I have my family. This is how I am alive. This is how I make decisions from this place of thought.
Yeah.
This office I'm in is birthed from my thought, from my skill as a divine nature, not temporary survival skills, but my creative skills to make things happen. Life happens, but God happens too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've said this for years, and I think some people hear it wrong, but it's true. If you survive, you have the right to revive.
Oh,
Meaning,
yeah.
you can survive going down the runway. You still
Yeah.
maintain the integrity of the right to fly, and you
Yeah.
survive the contradiction.
Yeah.
Then you have the right to revive everybody that failed at it and want to get back on their feet again. Otherwise,
Yeah.
there's no authority in it.
That's right.
There's no
See,
authority.
when you survive the contradiction, you rewrote it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still a contradiction for someone else, but it's your launching spot for you.
Yeah, it's my runway.
That's
That's how I
right.
got to where I was at. I had to oppose a law of gravity or the law of whatever contradiction you're in order to get to the full flight and the maximum. And everybody's different. Every plane requires different runway lengths, and you can't compare
Yeah.
the contradiction. You know, a C-5A that carries all the heavy tanks and
Yeah.
stuff, it requires a long runway. Little short Alaskan STOL aircraft, may only require 100 feet. Everybody's going to go down this runway, whether you like it or not. You're
Whether
going
you
down
like it.
that runway.
That's right.
And it's not the value of how much you can lift. It's the value that you survive the contradiction in order to
That's right.
gain the value of lift.
That's right.
So, man, good stuff. Really, really good, man. So good always to be with you. So good.
Likewise, man. Likewise.
So good. Well, again, I just want to say thank you, just for the reality and the beautiful way to articulate what it takes to bring the realities of the kingdom forward. It's just not like, just read your Bible more. You'll be fine.
Oh.
You'll get more faith out of that. And I'm going,
You'll be fine.
you'll be fine. I have faith in it. God's in control. He's got it. And I'm going, okay.
You'll be fine. I'm gonna have to use that. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
It'll be okay.
It's okay.
Next thing you know, you're standing at your coffin. You're going, that wasn't so fine, was it? I'm just going, no, that's not right. Something's not right there. All right. Well, everybody, I want you to. So you said number one, you said you wrote a bunch of books. Where can they find those?
Oh, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, everywhere books are sold. Just go to Amazon, put my name in, Barnes and Nobles, any retail store. Just put my name, all of my books,
Okay.
and you can check them out. Yeah,
And then,
podcast. You get my app from the App Store, Fizer Interglobal.
okay.
You can go to the App Store or Google stores, and all of my information is in that app.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Whew, that was a good one. So everybody,
It was.
go get his stuff, read it. It'll help you endure the contradiction to get to the flight of view. That's for sure.
Oh,
So
yeah, yes, it will.
it will, man. It's been awesome to see you, and
Likewise.
we will see you very, very, very soon again. All right, man.
All right, man. Peace out. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.